Hi, Year 4. We are focusing on punctuating dialogue today. This is a really important skill when we write narratives, and it can seem a little bit tricky, but hopefully, as I go through the slides, you'll understand the different ways of how we punctuate dialogue. We always use inverted commas around dialogue. Inverted commas are the two little symbols like that go around speech or talking. Sometimes you may see it as a one of those, and it doesn't really matter which one you use as long as you use the same one throughout your whole text. Let's have a look at some of these slides and then we'll go through some examples. So what we are looking for today is that you can punctuate your dialogue correctly. You're going to continue working through your narrative, but with a focus on punctuating your dialogue, thinking of synonyms for said, and using adverbial phrases to describe how the character speaks or what they are doing as they speak. So there are two different types of speech. There's reported speech and direct speech. Reported speech summarizes or paraphrases what's being said. It doesn't directly quote the words spoken, so it doesn't need punctuation. For example, the goats said they wanted to eat grass, the green grass on the other side of the bridge. The troll shouted to the goats to stay on their own side of the stream. So there the characters aren't necessarily being quoted. We don't need to worry too much about that. That's often not used in narratives as students. We are focusing on direct speech. So I just spoke about that, how there's sometimes the single inverted comma or there's the double. So the punctuation inside inverted commas. So all commas, full stops, question marks, exclamation marks must be enclosed by the talking marks. So I'm going to use some visuals to help you. So I'm going to read this sentence. So that's my sound for talking marks. That grass looks delicious, comma, inverted commas, said the smallest billy goat gruff, full stop. So you can see how the comma is inside the talking marks. Same thing if it's an exclamation mark. Hey, goat. Yes, that's an exclamation mark. Or exclamation mark, you might have seen it as. Close talking marks, shouted the troll. Full stop. And then talking marks again. You are not allowed to cross my bridge. Full stop. Close talking marks. So you can see that the full stop is inside the talking marks. Same for a question. How can we get to the other side? Question mark, close talking marks, ask the biggest billy goat gruff. You can see here that this is not correct, where they've got the exclamation mark outside the talking marks. So that's really important. Any commas or exclamation marks or question marks go inside the talking marks. Sometimes we need to use a comma if we are adding information about how they've said it. So commas are another important tool to help the reader separate direct speech from the rest of the text. Where the direct speech goes before the verb, you can see the verb is in green here, and does not end in a question mark or exclamation mark, we use a comma. We need to get to the other side, comma. Close talking marks, moaned the goats. Another example. Those goats are always disturbing my sleep, comma, close talking marks, muttered the troll. So this is where it's saying how they've said it. And we, if we're not adding that, we just add a full stop. Now we don't use a comma if we are using exclamation mark or a question mark. Okay, so that's not correct. This is correct. It takes the place of the comma. Sometimes we can put the information before the talking. For example, the smallest billy goat gruff said, comma, talking marks, I'll go first, talking marks, a full stop, talking marks. Another example, the show shouted, comma, open talking marks, who goes there, question mark, close talking mark. The biggest billy goat Gruff shouted, comma, open talking mark, oh no you won't, exclamation mark, close talking mark. So here you can see that if we're putting the information before it, there needs to be a comma and talking mark, and we notice that the talking then is in a capital letter. Okay, direct speech needs to be in a capital letter. When the direct speech follows a verb, a full stop, exclamation or question mark must be used inside the inverted commas to signal the end of the speech. So that's just at the end. Now, another way of punctuating speech is to have it split, and this is where you're giving information in the middle and then they're still speaking. For example, I'm light and quiet. We use a comma, we close the talking, but then we say, said the smallest billy goat Gruff, or however the character's saying it, comma, and he's continuing to talk, and we don't need a capital letter this time, it's lowercase. You can see here, it's in lowercase. So I'll go first, and we've put a full stop and close the talking mark. So that's a tricky one, the split, and I'm going to talk a bit more about that after. Sometimes it can be separated into two, where we do put a full stop and then a capital letter and the talking mark. So let's delete that one's not important. And then there's a summary of how to do it. So let's look at some examples. So this speech is from the book The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, and we'll see the different examples. So here, talking marks. I say, comma, said, close talking mark, said Lucy. So this is where it's split. You can see here the said Lucy in the middle is giving information on who's saying it. We put a comma and then talking marks, and then this is in lowercase. You do look awful, Edmund. Full stop. And if she's saying two things at the one time, we punctuate it like we would a sentence. Full stop. Don't you feel well? Question mark. Close talking marks. So we place a comma, full stop, question or exclamation mark before the closed talking marks. So here, there's a question mark at the end of the sentence. What's this all about, Ed? Question mark, closed talking mark, said Peter. Now here is where we've got the character at the start, where the character is saying, we're describing who's speaking at the start. Susan said, we put a comma, and then this has to be in a capital letter. Open talking marks, oh bother those trippers, exclamation mark, and close talking mark. Here's an example of where we're using exclamation mark here. It's a split speech. So open talking marks, quick, exclamation mark, close talking mark, said Peter, comma, open talking mark, lowercase dialogue, there's nowhere else, comma, close talking marks, and flung open the wardrobe, full stop. So this is information on what's happening as a character is speaking. Quick, said Peter, there's nowhere else, and flung open the wardrobe. And that's saying what he did. So I'm going to write up some sentences that don't have the punctuated correctly, and we'll work through that together before you get to your task. All right, I have got some sentences that we need to punctuate. First one, I'm hungry, said Mrs. Loby, gripping her tummy. So we know the part I'm hungry is talking, so we need open talking marks. And then we need a comma here, and then close talking marks. We need a comma because we're describing how I'm saying it and who's saying it. All right, do you have any food? She asked. We need open talking marks. This is the dialogue. Do you have any food? Now it's a question, so we don't need a comma. We need a question mark, and then our closed talking marks go outside of the question mark. And then I put a full stop here. Please can I have some? Mrs. Loby begged. I only need a small snack. So there we've got that split dialogue. We need open talking marks here. Please can I have some? It's another question mark, close talking marks. Mrs. Loby begged. We don't put a full stop there, we put a comma because I'm still talking. Open talking mark for the next bit of dialogue. I only need a small snack. Close talking marks. Thank you, she beamed. Thank you is the talking, so open talking marks. We need to put a comma there. Close talking marks. We could also put an exclamation mark there if we wanted to. As she had a mouthful of food, she mumbled, "This is delicious." So this time we've got the information at the start. So she mumbled, comma, and then opened talking marks, "This is delicious." And does that need a capital? I think so. This is delicious. So hopefully you can see how we place them when it's split, when the talking's at the end or at the start. Let's have a look at your task for today. So you are going to go through what you've written so far and correct any punctuation around your dialogue. You're going to continue drafting your narrative with a focus on beginning to solve your complication. You're going to take a photo and upload it to OneNote. Feel free to go through those slides again if you're not quite sure how to punctuate it. That summary page will be helpful for you as well. Another quick little mention is to consider other words for said. So when we're describing how a character says it, there's lots of words that we can use, like sang, confessed, sighed, wailed, declared, spluttered, chuckled, groaned. And you're doing an activity this week where we're looking for synonyms for said. So make sure that you're using some exciting words for said.